Joining me live now is Nationals leader David Littleproud. David, thanks so much for your time this morning. Let's start with Labor's industrial relation reform that includes multi-employer bargaining. It's stalling and independents are asking for a delay so it can be scrutinised. Employers in the gas and mining industries are threatening to run multi-million-dollar campaigns against the reforms. What's your take on where we are right now?
Well, this is simply payback to the unions to help in helping them get into government. I mean, I went to the job summit, I sat there amongst the unions, and the CFMEU boss let the cat out of the bag. He basically said, this is our time, we need to be repaid. Now, they've been repaid with the abolition of the ABCC, which will mean an extra $47.5 billion worth of costs in the construction industry between now and 2030. But the other unions want their pound of flesh, and this multi-employer bargaining system is going to wreak havoc. Now, we want to all increase wages, and real wages is what we're trying to address, and that's addressing inflation, but it's also making sure wages go up in a sensible, arbitrated way that takes the balance into it. And what this Labor government's trying to do is take the balance out of it and put it all the power back in front of the unions. So I've got to say, Jackie Lambie and David Pocock are spot on in trying to work through some of the more contentious issues that they need to make sure they get right. And the government's only rushing because it's their strategy to rush this through to pay back the unions. It's as simple as that. There's no reason to rush into this. We all want to get wages up, but they have to be real wages. What the government can do and focus between now and Christmas is bring real wages up by tackling inflation. Australians are going to have to scratch together a couple of $1,000. $2,000 between now and Christmas alone to cover the increase in food, energy and mortgage. And the government should be focused on that and working constructively around getting the balance right, not just with the crossbench, but with the business sector.
Would you concede, though, that wages didn't rise while you were in government?
Well, real wages didn't, and that's structurally a challenge that we're all facing. But there is no silver bullet to this. It's not just about writing a letter to the Fair Work Commission. You've got to take into account the whole of economy because you can actually double down on inflation if you don't get the balance right. And I think what people also need to understand is that we're going through a new phase in our economy as things start to cool. In the budget, there's over 100,000 Australians expected to lose their jobs. Now, if you put too much power back into the union movement, what will happen is that business will accelerate their plans to slow their businesses down, and they'll look to cutting costs, and invariably one of the costs that they can, the variable costs they can manage, is employment. And so we just need to understand there's no silver bullet to this. While Labor sold everyone this rosy story, they effectively sold us a pup. It takes structural change, it takes time, it takes care. Otherwise, there's perverse outcomes. And that's what we were working towards in a concerted way to making sure we kept the balance between unions who have a role to play and increasing real wages, which is tackling inflation, as well as wage increase.
All right, energy companies are scooping up massive profits. Origin Energy boosted gas revenues to $2.77 billion in the September quarter as prices doubled on the East Coast. Should the government put a price cap on energy markets? Many are saying the time is running out to do so.
Well, it is because of the inaction of this government. It simply comes down to supply. The reason we're in this trouble stretches as far back as Kevin Rudd and Peter Beattie. In Queensland, where we developed the Surat Basin, where I actually live, they had all that reserve effectively put into the export market because Queensland owned all the coal-fired power stations. They didn't want to have to compete with gas in the domestic market. So they sent it all out to be exported without actually keeping any for domestic real supply. And that's been the challenge we face. Now, you can still increase supply. And that's what we've been saying. The challenges that this government's faced are the same ones we faced before the election. You know, Vladimir Putin crossed the border in February before the election. We didn't have this crisis because we could work with the gas companies. We could work with them about increasing supply. And you learn that in grade 8 business economics. You increase supply, you reduce the price. And they've effectively in this budget taken away funding, not only for more exploration in the Cooper and Adavale basins just near the Surat Basin to put more supply in. They've also slashed funding for the pipelines to make sure that the physical constraints around delivering it from Queensland south is taken away. And that's the way to continue to increase it. And for Dan Andrews, the rank hypocrisy for this guy to sit there and to be downcasting his dispersions on gas companies when he hasn't got the courage to drill a hole underneath him and start to put supply into it is just outrageous. The guy has become and made Victoria a laughingstock across this country because of the philosophy that he and the ideology he's taken, which is meaning you're paying more along with this Labor government. You need to increase supply. Gas companies will increase supply as quickly as you can get them to, and they should have been starting this as we were working with them 6 to 12 months ago.
David Littleproud, Nationals leader, we've got to leave it there. Appreciate your time this morning, though. Talk to you again soon.